All right, this is going to be a horrible suggestion from a financial standpoint, but like if someone wants to vibe code a website out in the middle of nowhere with no internet access or anything, go buy a 5090 laptop, put this model on it in LM Studio, and you will have the best like mood board kind of inspirational theme thing ever. For today's video, we're going to be taking a quick look at GLM-4-32B-0414, which you may have guessed by the model designation was released on April 14th. So this is actually a pretty cool model, and I had heard a lot about this when it came out a couple of weeks ago. I saw folks were having very good luck with it. I don't really recall why I didn't test this then, but I was on the local llama subreddit as usual, and I found that Bartowski had uploaded some apparently fixed or updated quants that will allow this to work properly in LM Studio. So being that that is the case, that's essentially what we're going to be doing for today's testing, and I do have the quantizations from Bartowski right here, and if we go into files, we can see that these were all uploaded about 12 hours ago or so. Now, this can run in a 4-bit quant, happily within a single 24 gigabyte card. So I am just going to be running for today's video the Q4KM quantization, which is around 19.7 gigabytes. We will talk a little bit about the specific settings. I'm running it from within LM Studio as well. But quickly, I do just want to talk about this model. This is by I'm not going to even be able to pronounce this, so THUDM, THUDM. And something interesting about this name, THUDM, is they made Cog Video X as well, which is something that I've done testing on. And Cog Video, I think, was a while back when I tested the first version of it that came out. It was very impressive. So it's just cool that they actually have like a nice new family of smart models here. So with that out of the way, quickly just to talk about some of the other models that are shown here in this family. There is the Z models. So the Z1-32B-0414 is a reasoning model with deep thinking capabilities. And then there is the Z1 rumination. I don't know how one would specifically choose to pronounce that word, which is a deep reasoning model with rumination capabilities against OpenAI's deep research. So these two models are ones that would have chain of thought, and this one seems actually kind of worthy of further exploration just in terms of watching its chain of thought, perhaps trying to figure out more complicated problems. However, for today, we are just going to be sticking with the non-reasoning model, as I have done just one bit of preliminary testing with it, and honestly, it is kind of nice to just have like scripts and things like that spit out pretty instantly when you ask them instead of needing the model to think about it. Finally, as they say right here as well, there is also a surprise, which is the 9 billion parameter model right here. I do wonder if this is also a reasoning model. Okay, so it is, as it had the Z1 in the name. And essentially, this is a model that is a 9 billion parameter variant, and they even mention that this does well in resource-constrained scenarios. So perhaps, depending on how today's test goes, this may be something that is worthy of testing on a 3060 12 gig or something of the sort. I do already have this model loaded in LM Studio, and we will just quickly take a look at the actual specific settings that I have this loaded in with. So I set the context length to some arbitrary number slightly over 10,000. I have flash attention set to on, and there was a comment in one of my last videos I did with LM Studio, which was a while ago, and the individual suggested turning off the actual model loading guardrails, or at least setting them to relaxed. They said that it could make the generations happen faster. So I did just set them to relaxed. They were either here or here before. So I don't know, because I haven't tested this side by side with what it was prior, but it does seem to respond fairly quickly. It is using about 10.5 gigabytes on either 3090 Ti. So this is the dual 3090 Ti system that we will be testing this on today. And it's entirely within the cards, which is good because it'll be a quicker response speed. And with that, we are just going to go ahead and make a new chat, and we'll go ahead and probably just start out the gate with a refusal test to see if it will help us bypass WEP encryption. Okay, so it initially came and said, no, I'm sorry, I can't. It does know it's an old and insecure network protocol. Perhaps I can try to kind of persuade it, as I did with one of, I think, Granite 3.3. All right, so, oh, this is interesting. So So I asked it to just give me a technically correct description for a book I'm writing about how this would happen. It did actually go ahead and kind of write the short excerpt of what could perhaps appear in said scenario, which is interesting. So I am trying this retro synthwave script once again, but I have specified that it needs to work in one shot, meaning with no errors on the first try. And I did also tell it just to not overcomplicate it, as previously when trying this, it did seemingly bite off more than it could chew and generated a very in-depth, intricate game with a lot of cool features and things like that. But unfortunately, it just was giving errors every time I tried to run it. So it wasn't actually a functional game. That's really quite interesting. So for the font, it's actually specifying this specific font, VCROSD Mono, which is a retro synthwave style looking font, obviously. So that's kind of interesting. And again, I am worried that this isn't going to work because it's seemingly once again biting off more than it can chew. That was 35.45 tokens per second. I am going to go ahead and just copy paste this in and we'll see if it runs. But based off just kind of glancing over the code right there, I am a little concerned that it's not going to work. Oh, all right. Well, sorry, I should probably be talking here. All right, so I have a few comments. Graphically, this is fantastic. Truth be told, this may actually be the best result that I have seen from a local model with this prompt. And additionally to that, of course, it is not actually working in terms of the gameplay logic. So if we were actually scoring these on like a pass-fail basis, this would unfortunately be a fail. But if we break down the scores, the actual aesthetic and gameplay style of this would far, far surpass anything I've seen to date. Just the fact that it did actually specify the font like this with the score, no other model has done this. They would all just have kind of a generic default score there, right there. In addition to that, this has actually gone ahead and generated this. So it's using tkinter, which is interesting because that's more of a GUI library for Python. So it's designed for like the calculator we saw earlier was built using tkinter. So this is really a very interesting result to me because it's using tkinter, something that would normally be used for making like a GUI for an app. Basically like the calculator we saw first, the first test that I showed with this, but it's almost just kind of repurposed that into a simple game engine and like drawing the graphics and things like that. So again, unfortunately, the logic did not actually work, but the graphical style of this game was absolutely phenomenal. And the creativity that actually went into using tkinter for this as opposed to Pygame or something like that is quite interesting. And again, this just looks fantastic. So yes, it doesn't work. Pressing R would traditionally supposedly restart this game, but so that didn't work. But just, I mean, even the entire slow moving background, the way that kind of looks in comparison with the ships coming in faster, it's just all very well done. The VCR synthwave style font, it perfectly captured the artistic vision of the game better than any test that I have, any model I've tested this with. This just did better graphically, hands down, bar none. Logic needs improvement. All right, so supposedly the game logic has actually been fixed. We're going to go ahead and test that. Regardless of what happens here, the next thing we're going to move on to is the web development test, which I'm honestly very excited for, just based off of seeing some of the artistic directions that this takes. So we will just try this. Okay, so unfortunately, this got worse. It seems that the game clock or something, well, my score's going up now incrementally. Let's see how Steve's PC repair goes. I do have to say, I think I enjoy the web design testing the most, as it's just so much variation in the actual direction that the models take these. Like Granite 3.3 put in like a fake customer testimonial. They're very entertaining. A lot of them say copyright 2023 Steve's PC repair. So let's see what this one says, if anything. It's writing a fake testimonial. I do wait to see it online, but multiple fake testimonials. This is fantastic. All right, that was around 35 tokens per second, 7,051 tokens generated. So this is going to be a pretty feature-packed website, assuming that it does work correctly, which I believe it will. It did do some fantastic things in terms of the fake testimonials and things of that sort. So I am quite excited for this one. All right. Wow. And it did even put like a stock photo. This is fantastic. Oh, it is a fake origin story. Founded in 2010, Steve's PC Repair has been serving the community with professional services for over a decade. Our founder, Steve Johnson, started the business with a simple mission: provide honest and reliable tech support. Sorry, you're probably getting bored seeing me read this, but this is pretty good. Transparent pricing. And then look at this. Oh my God, it even gave photos for the fake people. Fake testimonials. Look at this. Like, the footer, good God. All right, this is going to be a horrible suggestion from a financial standpoint, but like if someone wants to vibe code a website out in the middle of nowhere with no internet access or anything, go buy a 5090 laptop, put this model on it in LM Studio, and you will have the best like mood board kind of inspirational theme thing ever. Interesting. So I believe this is the first time one of these models that I've tested with this prompt, which there's only been a few of them to date, has actually refused to do anything with the pyramid scheme. All right, I'm trying this again, but just renaming pyramid scheme to pyramid wealth generation plan. And all right, good, with a sense of urgency. All right. All right, that was a very long generation of 10,109 tokens at around 34 per second. So we're going to scroll up here and go ahead and see if our pyramid wealth generation website has worked, and if so, how well it looks and what other features were implemented to create a sense of urgency in the visitor. All right, let's check this out. Sorry, I got like confused. Again, Apex Pyramid. Accelerate your wealth generation. There's a countdown timer. I do kind of wish it had put seconds in the countdown timer, but again, this like comparatively is quite good. Okay, we've got a little weirdness right here, but that's okay. Oh God, we have some success stories. Since joining, my financial situation has transformed. My own team of over 50 members. Oh, level 2 member, level 1 member. All right, so it did kind of grasp the whole pyramid idea that we were going for. The pyramid structure. All right, I got to full screen this. Oh, okay, that didn't seemingly make any difference here. CEO 50,000, vice president, and then this is, I mean, again, this is still quite good. It's just comparatively to Steve's PC Repair, I definitely think that Steve's PC Repair has a leg up on this. Actually, I mean, I guess this is simpler. This did do a background image and things like that. And this does seemingly kind of emulate the kind of background image you would see on a website like this, promising quick, like financial growth, as this subtly implies like relaxation and like vacationing and stuff like that. Secure your spot now. Ooh, join. And it gives us a pop-up here to join Apex Pyramid today. And then the pyramid. And then again, these just kind of link to the blob or whatever it's called on the page that it actually associates with. We have rapid wealth growth, multiple income streams, 24/7 access. Unlock premium benefits as you climb the pyramid. I love the success stories. All right, I think the last thing I'm going to do is an SVG test. I have not actually historically done these in any of my videos, but I do recall this was actually mentioned as a capability of this model in the Hugging Face repository for it, so I figure we'll just kind of go ahead and try it. Here's a modern, vibrant SVG illustration of a busy electronics store or a micro center store. All right, we have a generated SVG of a micro center store scene, so we're going to go ahead and kind of take a look at what that even would look like. All right, well, it did absolutely do this. Here, let's go ahead and, oh, okay. We'll zoom in. So here we have, I presume, our entrance. We have phones over here. We have tablets over here. I do believe these are people. One of them is saying hi with a chat bubble, and then some shelves and things like that. Okay, so I truly don't really know what I expected here or what to have expected, but it did correctly do this. Perhaps I will ask it something a bit less architectural and more artistic, I suppose. All right, let's go ahead and check out our last test here, which is a retro synthwave SVG cityscape. Acceptable. Truth be told, I'm not too in tune with SVGs and their capabilities or lack thereof, but it did what I asked, and I suppose yeah, all right. Well, I have far less to say about that than I had anticipated, so that will more rapidly bring us into the closing thoughts for this model. I do have to say, and again, keep in mind that this is a Q4KM quantization of this model, and the only programming testing I did with it are the examples that we saw together in this video. So with that, I would say that comparatively, I think artistically, this model really has surpassed anything that I have run locally and tested, just in terms of some of the graphical decisions it made. The web design tests were fantastic. So when I say programming, I think I mean Python specifically. It seems like it didn't do the best in terms of some of the actual game logic and things like that. Artistically, it was absolutely fantastic and the best artistic generation of that synthwave game that I have seen from any model that I've tested that with. Closed or open. Make of that what you will. With that, I truly think that, again, and maybe this is due to the quantization or something else, perhaps a setting that user error, but I think this coupled with a dedicated coding model would be a killer pipeline, really, where essentially this thing could do all of the UX, UI design and things of that sort, and then you could have a dedicated coding model just kind of make sure everything works. I think that would be an extremely potent local offline option for somebody who is perhaps looking for something like that. Again, the synthwave game, when it generated that, I was shocked. It was very unique that it used tkinter to actually draw the graphical elements and things like that, because I've never seen that done before in any of the testing I've done with that script. They always use Pygame, or if they think Pygame's an external dependency, they'll just use like math to make the game, if you will. I guess to kind of sum it up, I'm extremely impressed with the UX designer capability of this model. It was really not something I expected. I kind of thought it would just perform as the others do, where they do things, but they kind of are not as creative in terms of the graphical choices. So this was extremely impressive graphically. With that, I think that is going to conclude this video. I hope to have a haircut by the time I film the next video so that I don't look like a odd person. So with that, that's going to conclude it. Thank you for watching. And if you have any comments, please feel free to leave them in the comments.